On this episode, we're going to learn how to take the movie and get it off of the DVD and upload it as a formatted movie. So the first thing we're going to do is probably close down the camera, close down XSplit, anything else that we have opening. And we're going to open up Sony Vegas Movie Studio. Depending on when you're watching this, it may be version 12, 13, or who knows, it could be up to 22 or 23. Anyhow, we've opened it up. We're going to click on Create a New Episode. DVD is fine, NTSC is correct, and we're going to type in the date. Just for example purposes, we're going to use the same as we used on the other video, and it's the 17th of June, so I'm going to type in 2014-0617, and that's the name of the video, and I'll click on OK. Next, I have to get the video from the DVD, so I'm going to click on Import DVD Camcorder Disc. That's the one that you pulled out of the DVD recorder and stuck into the computer. So I'm going to click on OK. And it's going to go through and it's going to import that disc. This is kind of a slow, tedious process. It'll take probably 4 or 5 minutes. So if you need to go to the bathroom or get a drink, this would be a good time to do it. And while it's doing that, I'm going to put this on pause for just a moment and I'll pick it right back. Okay, we're getting a lot closer now. It's up to 94%, so it's going to be any second now it'll be done. The 3 parts that we need are going to be actually 4 parts. We're going to have the actual sermon, we're going to have the intro, we're going to have the little tile, and then we're going to have a graphical overlay that has the watermark on it. And I'll go over those each step by step. Once this is done processing the sound, and it'll see that little green bar down here at the bottom, once it gets up to 100%, we're going to grab this and drag it down into the video bar. Now this will be the entire service from the beginning until the end. It's our job to go through and figure out what part we want, what part we don't need. Just by looking at it, it looks like this is probably the sermon. And it looks like it probably stops right in through here, and we can tell that by looking at the screen of the tiles, plus looking at the sound. We see there's a gap, and then there's something that starts and is fairly consistent right up to here, and then there's another gap. So I'm going to put the cursor right about in through here someplace. And sure enough, that's exactly where it needs to be. So I'm going to click on the letter S, which splits that timeline into 2. Now I've got 2 separate pieces. When I click away from it, you'll be able to see there's a divider on the left and a divider on the right. And I'm going to try again at the end of it. I'm going to click right about, not there. It's going to be in here somewhere. If you zoom in a little bit, sometimes it's easier to see if you're more zoomed in. I'm going to click on this little plus, get a little bit closer to it. I can see that Eric is up talking right now. So I'm going to back it up. Okay, there's the end of it. So I'm going to click on S again, which will give us a second split. So now as I go off the timeline, you'll be able to see there's a split in the line here and a split here. So everything at the end of it, we're just going to click on it once, with the left click to highlight it, then we're going to click the delete button. And I'm going to click on the left, select it, and hit the delete button. Now the only thing that's left is the actual sermon, and that's the part that I want. We got the meat and potatoes, and we separated all the green beans out of it. So the next part we're going to do is bring in the other media that goes with the service. I'm going to go up to Project. I'm going to go to Import Media. Computer. It's usually on the Z drive. And there's a folder on the Z drive that's called Video Transfer, Video Exfer. And if I scroll on this, it's all done alphabetically. You'll see Church Splash PJ for Pastor Jeff and PD for Pastor Daryl. In this case, it looks like we're going to say that this is Pastor Daryl's preaching. I can't see the thing, but I think it's Pastor Daryl. So I'm going to double click on him, and it selects it. That'll bring that media into the little window. So I'm going to drag that media down and put it on the far left. Next, I'm going to click right at the very beginning of the service, and you'll see that little tile. This is the artwork that Jody created. I'm going to click on the Save button. And I'm going to call it something like, in this case it's called God With You, and it saves it up here. So we're going to call it God With You All 2. And that brings it into the timeline. So I'm going to grab that and drag it down here. And I'm going to line these up. If you zoom in on it a little bit, you can see I've got this piece of media. Then I've got this piece of media. Now I need to drag this one over closer to it. So I'm going to grab it, hold it down with the left mouse button, hold it down, drag it over, release the left mouse button. You'll kind of see that little blue line when the two go together, and it's right at the end. It's just lined up just right. If I overlap it, if we go too far, you'll start to see that yellow X, and that's a bad thing because it means you overlapped it. So put it right at the end and then release it. Okay, so this is the entire service. This is what we want. We have the splash intro, we've got the tile logo, and then we have the actual sermon. Next up, we're going to click up here, which says Video Overlay. We're going to right click, Insert Text Media. I'm going to go to this box and highlight it and get rid of it. And I'll type in the www.lindsborgcov.org. I'm going to select that text and I'm going to change the font size from 48 down to 9. I'll go down here where it says location and click on that arrow. I might scroll this down just a little bit to where I can see it. I'm going to grab that little white dot and I'm going to drag it down to the lower left hand corner of the screen. Then I'm going to grab this on the right side. I'm going to click on it with the left mouse button and drag it the entire length of the entire sermon. And I can't see all that way yet, so I'm going to drag it out some more, zoom out a little bit more. I'm using the scroll button on my mouse to zoom in and out. If you don't have the scroll button on your mouse, you can also use the plus or minus sign. And I want that the watermark to be the full length of the sermon. So if I zoom out a little bit, I can see I've got the entire sermon. This whole thing is watermarked. I'm going to click on Project, Save As. I'm going to give it a name. In this case, we already called it the 17th, but I've already got the 17th because that's when it did last week. So I'm going to call it 17.2. Click on Save. Go to Make Movie. Save it to my hard drive. In this case, it's already filled in the name, 2014-06-17_2. It saved it as a, by default, it's going to save it as an Apple iPod 640 by 480 video, MP4, which is what I want. There's a million other different formats you can save it in. You can save it as an MP3 audio file. You can save it as a Windows media file, WMV file. You can save it as an MPEG file. If you're going to upload it to sermon.net, they really like MP4. It encodes very quickly and you don't have to do anything with it. So I always try and save it as an MP4. So on here I'm under Main Concept AC MP4 and I went down and selected the Apple iPod 640 by 480. And I'm going to click on Render. Now it's going to render that video. And you can see there's the church splash starting to go through. Now it moves on in the timeline, it moves up to that little icon that we pulled down, the tile. Now it's getting into the video itself, and it's beginning to encode the video, and it's at 1%. So I'm going to put this on pause, and I'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, looks like we're at 99% on this now. Coming up on 100%. And as soon as this reaches 100%, it'll kick over and pop open and say Open Folder. So we're done with this now. We're going to go ahead and click on, as soon as that hourglass disappears. Let's see here. We're going to say Open Folder. And we're going to go back to this and we're going to click on Save. And we can close this down. We're done with it. Nothing else to do on this. So we're going to look, and sure enough, here in our users video text, my videos, there's the video we just created. From this point, we can do anything. We can upload it to sermon.net, we can upload it to YouTube. There's a number of options we have available. In this case, I'm going to go over to sermon.net. I'm going to go down to Archives. And here's that test episode we created, Jesus Loves This Test Episode. If I go to here and open up that episode, I'm going to go down to where it says Add Files under Media Bank. And I'm going to go through and find out one that we just created. In this case, it's 2004-06-17_2. I'm going to click on Open. I'm going to click on Start Upload. It'll give you a little progress down here. It tells you how far it's going. It's 2%, 3%, 4%. This is another good time to go take a bathroom break. Once it completely uploads 100%, they still have to run it through the sermon.net computers to process it, make sure that our MP4 encoding codecs are the same as theirs. It takes about half an hour for it to process. But after that, there's nothing else to do. Once you've done this point here and you've uploaded it and it's going, just walk away from the computer and come back in about an hour or so. or you can go home and log on by remote and check it that way. That's all there is to do it. The only other thing we're going to want to do to this broadcast is, now that we're done with it, the sermon's already passed, we're going to click up here where it says live broadcast, turn that on off, click on save, and we're done. That video's encoded, it's being uploaded. We're just going to shut the computer off and walk away from it and come back in an hour and check the website, and it'll be posted and it'll say that it's available. And that's all there is to it.